Yo, what's happening? Everybody, everyone, this is the dude, Intergalactic Brew, once again coming at you with another video. MMA video, that is. It is exactly 9:06 right now, so we are approximately 1 hour away from probably the greatest tournament going in MMA today. It's the World Heavyweight Grand Prix first round matchups presented to you by Strikeforce, the one and only. You know, we got a spectacular card for you tonight. I'm here to break down the second main event, the co-main event, as you would say, of the show tonight, which will feature Andre the Pitbull Arvloski and vs. Kharitornov. Now this fight here, what I've heard from a lot of people about this fight is, if both of these guys were in their prime about 4 years ago, this would probably be the most highly anticipated fight on this show. But unfortunately, it's happening 4 years later, and both guys have passed their prime, or at least Andre Arvloski has. I'm not too sure with Kharitornov because he's kind of new to me, but still, I heard he is a good fighter, and this should be a good fight nonetheless of what everybody's saying it is. So without any further ado, let's break it down. Okay, we have Andre Arvloski, former UFC heavyweight champion, was a force in the MMA heavyweight scene for a long time, was probably one of the best strikers, if not the best strikers of his time in the heavyweight division. You know, I'll never forget, I was watching my Ultimate Knockouts DVD about a couple of years ago, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with that fight with Andre Arvloski and Paul Buentello, the headhunter. Andre Arvloski made real short work of him with, I think, only just 10 seconds. I think it was 10 seconds or 20 seconds or whatnot. He caught him with a quick jab. I think it was a short jab, or it was a short little hook, right hook I believe, to the chin, and just laid Paul Buentello out. And a lot of the fans were booing Andre Arvloski because they thought that he had done something illegal to put Buentello away. But it was just so fast that people didn't realize that Paul Buentello had actually been knocked out by a legal punch. They actually had to go back and replay the video twice to let the crowd know that Paul Buentello did indeed get caught by Arvloski. So that was impressive. And you know, Arvloski was just, you know, he was just a wrecking machine, man, just basically tearing people up for years in the UFC. And then he lost the heavyweight title to Tim Sylvia, and pretty much the rest is history. He pretty much went downward from there. Now, since coming to Strikeforce, he's had an even rougher time, I'd say, with you know, stronger, powerful strikers in the division. Y'all saw that brutal knockout that he sustained from Brett Rogers. I think it was last year or the year before last. And most recently, he got knocked out by Fedor. Just completely flatlined. I mean, he went for the flying knee, and Fedor was able to time it just right, and then boom, the lights go out. In, where's Andre Arvloski from? I believe he's from isn't he from like Russia? Yeah, the lights go out in Russia, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, the bottom line is, ever since Andre Arvloski lost to Tim Sylvia, his career has pretty much been one big train wreck. I mean, he's got some good wins, you know, recently. I mean, 2010 recently. He recently beat Who was that he beat? Man, I forget who his last fight was against. No, he beat Bigfoot. That's who he beat. He beat Bigfoot Silva, actually. Yeah, he beat Antonio Silva in his last fight. Ever since Arvloski has been knocked out, you know, his chin seems to be a little dusted, and it seems that he's starting to take more of a safer, cautious approach to fighting instead of being the aggressive, in-your-face fighter that he was a few years ago, which would be kind of smart on his part. But anyway, it is what it is. He's going to be facing a guy in Sergey Kharitornov, who is a very powerful puncher, can knock you out with either hand, and has very good skill on the ground as well. You know, a Sambo fighter. He's trained with Fedor over the years, so you could pretty much say he's legit if he's training with arguably still the best fighter in the world, let alone the best heavyweight in the world, at least in my opinion. So Kharitornov, I think, is a capable opponent for Arvloski. Now, the question coming into this fight about Arvloski is, will he be aggressive? Will he, for one night, just forget about all the times that he's been knocked out and forget about how soft his chin is and just get after Kharitornov? Now, I know for a lot of casual fans, that would probably be awesome, because then that would mean we would get an awesome fight if Andrei Arvloski decides to be aggressive and turn up the aggression. Now, as for the hardcore fans, the fans who really know Andrei Arvloski and really know the sport of MMA, we know he's not going to do that. We know he's going to be technical, he's going to be cautious, like I said, he's going to pick his shots, and he's going to wait for Kharitornov to make a mistake. What I think Arvloski needs to do in this fight is, I think that he needs to avoid the jab, right jab that is, of Kharitornov, and I think he needs to avoid the flurries, because in the fights that I've seen for Kharitornov, when he lets his hands go, it's pretty much goodbye for the opponent. So Andrei Arvloski will need to use a lot of leg kicks, get on the inside, use his combinations, close the distance, you know, try to land that overhand right if he can. Maybe, you know, set it up or throw a fake and lure Kharitornov in and just nail him. But he will have to use his quickness, because I believe Andrei Arvloski will be the quicker guy in this fight. So he will have to use that to his advantage, and I'm sure Greg Jackson has worked with him and I'm sure told him to utilize that speed throughout the fight. If Andrei Arvloski can do that, he can win the fight. As for Kharitornov, I think he just needs to use his jab, you know, open the distance. If he can fire some leg kicks, do so. Just try to push the pace, because it seems like, from what I've seen in Andrei Arvloski's recent fights, when guys tend to turn up the pressure on him, he seems to fold under pressure. So I think Kharitornov's best interest would be to push the pace in this fight and just come forward and just try to let his hands go as much as possible and try to land you know, those deadly combinations, or either that uppercut that he has, or either, like I said, a straight jab, flush, and just try to put Andrei Arvloski out of his misery as quick as possible. Now, if Arvloski does get the better of the stand-up, which I think he might, since he will be the more athletic, faster fighter in this match, Kharitornov would need to take this to the ground. I mean, I know he's a good striker in his own right, but I don't think he's at the level of striking that Andre Arvloski is, in my personal opinion. So I think that if Andre Arvloski does indeed get the better of the stand-up, he needs to take this fight to the ground and use his Sambo ability and try to wear on Andre Arvloski, or possibly even submit him. Let's see. How do I see this fight going? You know what? I know everybody's picking Kharitornov to win, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But for some reason, I can just see Andre Arvloski winning this fight, just based off him being more smarter and being more faster, and just being the better overall striker in this fight. Because I don't think this fight is going to go to the ground too often. Andre Arvloski does have decent takedown defense, so I think he is capable of stuffing Kharitornov's takedowns. But for the most part, this will be a striking match, and I just think, you know what, I'm going to pick Kharitornov, because I want to pick Andre Arvloski to win this fight. I want to say that he's going to be aggressive for this one fight, but you know, with him being knocked out the way he's been in the past couple of years recently, I'm just kind of cautious. But you know, if he can use his speed and circle and get on the inside and use leg kicks and kind of wear Kharitornov out, because Kharitornov isn't that fast anyway. You know, he's kind of slow, and plus he's a lot older, so you know his mobility is not up to par like it should be. But if Arvloski can, you know, move around and be quicker and use his quickness, then I can see him winning this fight. So I'm not counting Andre Arvloski out, but I just got a feeling that Kharitornov is going to push the pace, and I think he's going to end up letting his hands go, and I think he's going to end up catching Arvloski with an uppercut, and Andre Arvloski is going to fall to the canvas, and Kharitornov's going to pound him out, and it's going to be over. And I think this is going to happen maybe in the early second round. So I'm going to pick early second round TKO Sergey Kharitornov. But like I said, Andre Arvloski does have a good chance of winning this fight if he does use his quickness and gets in and out on Kharitornov. Let's see. I think it's some undercard fights that's supposed to be happening on this too. I'm not really too fond of these. But anyway, I'll just go ahead and give you my thoughts right quick. I'm going to pick Shane Del Rosario to knock out LeVar Johnson. I think it'll happen, let's see. I'll go ahead and say it'll happen like late first, early second round. I just think Shane Del Rosario is the better overall fighter. I've seen some of his videos on YouTube. This guy's got some wicked Thai boxing, and I think that's just going to be too much for LeVar Johnson to handle. So, yeah, that's how I see that going. And Valentin Overeem versus Ray Sefo. I'm going to pick Ray Sefo in this just because I think that Ray Sefo is just a better overall striker. Now, if this fight does hit the ground, Ray Sefo will lose because Valentin Overeem does have some good submissions. So, you know, this fight, you know, will go to Valentin Overeem if it does hit the ground. But for the most part, I think Ray Sefo will get the better of the stand-up, and I think he probably will be able to stuff his takedowns because he works at Extreme Couture with Randy Couture and all those wrestlers. So, yeah. I'm picking Ray Sefo, I'll say late first round TKO. And Chad Griggs versus some guy with a funny last name. I can't remember his name. But anyway, I'll go with Chad Griggs to win that fight. I'll say by decision. So there you go, guys. Fedor versus Silva. Don't miss it. It's going to be awesome. It's just an hour away. I can't wait. And hopefully, you know, Fedor will prove to everybody that he's still the man and beat Antonio Bigfoot Silva and hopefully go on to face Overeem in the next round. But until then, God bless. Deuce.